me call this special meeting of Borough Council to order. Ms. Brett, would you call the roll?
Sure, absolutely. Council President Fred Bush.
Here.
Council Vice President Michelle Panopoulos.
Here.
Council Member Barbara Fortner.
Here.
Council Member Rob McGreevy.
Here.
Council Member Cindy Rickards.
Here.
Council Member Bob Weisport.
Here.
Council Member Ira Winston.
Here.
Mayor Andrea Deutsch.
Here.
All right. Are there any agenda additions or changes? All right, seeing none. Let's move on to public comments. There is nobody here in the room with us, so move to online comments.
Yeah, we do have one person here online. Carol Marie, would you like to make any public comment tonight?
Yeah, so I would like to ask about the executive session that you're discussing disposition of borough property. What type of borough property does this entail?
We actually can't answer that question. That's why it's not to be like rude or smart alecky with you.
No, I understand. My question is it a dump truck or is it a playground?
Again, like the reason why we can't discuss that openly is because it would possibly impact the negotiations of the particular property we're talking about.
Will it be made public at some point?
Yes, I mean, and I can also tell you that we haven't. See, I don't think we have any particular information about 201 State Line that has changed in the last.
No, what we can say is that the discussion for executive session does not relate to the 201 State Line property.
Excellent. All right. And then I do have another request is when council is speaking, if you could, last meeting, I kept saying we couldn't hear you. I was emailing and texting saying I just cannot hear you. If you would speak to the microphone, especially if you're wearing a mask, because we really can't hear you.
Thank you. We will keep that in mind.
And also, we just had Mr. Dennis Callan join the meeting. Dennis, I don't know if you want to offer any public comment tonight or not.
Thanks. I actually don't have a public comment.
Well, we're glad you're here.
You're glad to be here.
Okay. So thank you everyone for your public comment. Let's move on to the action item, which is resolution for land acquisition. I guess let's have a motion and then I can explain a little bit here for those who have not been part of this discussion all the time.
I move that council consider resolution 2022-07 to apply for a DCNR land acquisition grant.
I'll second that.
Okay. So the context of this is that I really can't count the number of meetings where I've been here and people have expressed concerns about green space in Narberth, telling us we need more green space, protect the green space that we have, expand our green space in Narberth, and particularly in discussions of the property development at 3 Elmwood. Practically every meeting where members of the public were present, they told us that they would like to see this property preserved. They would like to see it remain green, and they would like to see this become a park, if at all possible. So this is a resolution in support of a grant to the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources that will provide matching funds for the borough to purchase the property has an area with an existing house and an area that's been slated for development, that's been proposed for development. So we would be purchasing the portion of the property that is proposed for development, and would be acquiring an easement on the other side of the creek that would allow us to put in some plantings along the creek there. And the goal of this is to purchase the property and turn it into a public park. I think that pretty much covers it. We're going to know about the grant in Samantha, when the
Yeah, probably we would know about the grant in October or November at the latest.
Okay, so we'll know about the grant later this year, and if the grant does not come through, then we will be going back to discussions. So this money is committed if the grant does go through to purchase the property. If the grant does not go through, there is no agreement in place in case that happens. And I also want to thank the Lower Merion Conservancy, who has been our partner in working on this grant and has really been helping us throughout the whole process, and has been a great help in this. Samantha, did you?
I do think, sorry to interrupt, Council President, I do think that we should probably publicly share and disclose the acquisition price and grant contribution, just to make sure we have everything on the public record we need to share.
Okay.
So for the benefit of everyone here at the table and for everyone who is watching or may later watch this meeting, the purchase price for the property is $1.1 million. Of that $1.1 million, the grant, if awarded, would cover half of that cost. So the grant would pay half, and the borough would be liable for $550,000.
All right. So hopefully that helps folks at home, borough residents, get up to speed on this, and discussion here at the table. Does anyone have anything to say about the resolution?
And I just want to, if I may, I just want to encourage the public, if there are any questions about this, please feel free to, reach out to myself or, or members of council as appropriate. And, as I mentioned for the public comment from Carol Marine, when it comes to, these sort of transactions, the borough can't always state everything going on, which is why the agenda item was so vague going into tonight. But whatever information we can share, I'm happy to share. And now that we're at this point in the process with the 3 Elmwood property, I think we can be, relatively open about everything with it. So I encourage anyone who has any questions, as opposed to speculating or anything like that. I really encourage people, please come to me in the office. I'm happy to provide information where I can.
Fred, do you think you could speak to, or maybe somebody else could speak to, that this really isn't even just an open green space, but in fact there is a tremendous environmental impact because of that water and that stream? So both the Conservancy, their independent environmentalists, our RC and Lower Merion AC said to us that this, again, that this has impact on, and somebody can remind me, it's the stream that runs, I believe, in Barbara?
Indian Creek.
It's the east branch of Indian
Okay.
Creek. It runs into Cobb's Creek, which runs into the Delaware River, which runs into the ocean. So we have the ability to protect the water that's flowing downstream into places like Yeadon and Upper Darby, where it floods terribly. We can at least control that to some degree. We can maybe control some of the pollutants that get into it. So there's as you're pointing out, Cindy, a lot of areas where we benefit from this. If we plant more trees in there, it's a better habitat for birds as they're flying, migrating, and more insects and more, plants, variety. So it's good from that perspective. It's going to be cooler there because of the trees and the stream, so it'll be a lovely place to go when it's really hot and sit in there. So there's a lot of benefits to this, and I, for one, am really thrilled that this has worked out this way. I really commend the developer of this property for being willing to consider this, and I'm really thankful for the guidance of Manager Bryant and Solicitor Walco as they've worked through things related to this, and then the help of Lower Merion Conservancy. I think we're just really, really lucky that that all the pieces are coming together the way they are.
Thank you for clarifying that. environmental impact. Neighbors probably have seen both Villanova and St. Joe's there because it's such a critical space that they actually bring their environmental scientists there to study it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody who lives around there has been by that property, has realized, well, this is, this creek is really important given the amount of flooding that goes on in Narberth. It's very salient to.
And without acquiring it, there would always be the concern that a development would, at some point, take place, because there's so little land left to develop it. It's really the only way that we can actually manage and be good stewards of that waterway. There's no other way to guarantee that.
I just want to say something kind of from a broad planning perspective. When like traditional neighborhood development, which is what the Pennsylvania State Legislature passed like in the late 2000s or maybe early OZs of became a thing, that came with it this idea of like sort of more density close to train stations and bus stations in urban places. And the purpose of that was to try to reduce the impact on open spaces like in lands that are sort of like further, more distal, further away from like sort of the center of things and where there's an existing infrastructure. And I think when Narberth planning, people in the Narberth Planning Commission for a long time actually have been talking about this idea about how important it is in Narberth to build what needs to be built and also to save what needs to be saved. And there's a kind of like balance act there. While we're all in favor of kind of creating more appropriate opportunities for people to live kind of in the center of Narberth, close to the train station, close to shopping, where it's like a very good for economic development and for community and for sort of for the social, cultural benefits that we get from being close together. We also have this is like sort of the first opportunity we've had to initiate like the saving of open space and to prevent development sort of at the periphery and I hope that this is like sort of will be a trend. I hopefully we'll be successful and we can continue to do that as we also watch the development happen in our core. And I just wanted to offer that broader perspective.
Aaron?
Yeah, see, the borough is committing a share of this fund, but it may be that if this all works out, that we could potentially offset some of those costs by doing additional fundraising of our own. So it's not necessarily all coming, out of the borough coffers or some sort of loan that we would take, because it seems like there are a lot of people who believe in this cause and might be willing to contribute.
Mayor Deutsch?
I just want to point out that that the little open space we do have in the borough tends to be on the north side. And it's very nice that now we'll have a bit of open space preserved for residents of the south side to really enjoy as well.
I just wanted to kind of echo what Bob was saying, because I think a lot of us that have been supporting development in the downtown had this idea that the increased revenue could eventually be used to provide for open space. And that's, in my mind, that's exactly what's happening. I don't know if it's like $1 per dollar, we can't exactly trace it, but to me, that's the way this works. Like, there are real benefits to the town of allowing for development that's appropriate.
And there's one other note I wanted to put on the record here. Just a little bit of an apology to council for dragging you all out here on a Tuesday night, and an explanation for the public why we're talking about this on a Tuesday night instead of at our regularly scheduled meeting. The grant application is actually due tomorrow, and all the details weren't ready for your March 17th meeting, hence why we are here tonight talking about it instead of at your April 7th meeting, because that would be too late. So thank you all for being here tonight so we can get this done.
And just to note, we do still have our regular meeting in 2 days. So 30%. All right. Does anybody else have anything to say about the resolution? Okay. All those in favor of the resolution to apply for the DCNR grant? Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, that is our only item of business for today. However, we will have an executive session afterwards to discuss the disposition of borough-owned property. And we will not be coming back after that. So, thank you.
Thanks. Need a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
And a motion to adjourn, it's true.
Yes, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
We're adjourned.